This is the Para Cave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, and co-sponsors Bo Cook from Loan Market, Scott from Brightside Detailing and Ceramics, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, the official clothing partner of the Para Cave Podcast, and the official media partner of the Para Cave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Para Cave.
Yes, welcome back to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. Now, this is the debut episode of my tipping each week in the NRL. Something I had an idea this afternoon on the way home from work, and I thought, well, you know, why not give some more extra content to you guys, the listeners, the fans, and I decided that with Magic Round on this weekend in the NRL, I thought, why not just give my thoughts as a fan, not an expert, and see if I can tip some winners this week. Now, I'm not an expert in tipping. I did do pretty well in a couple of tipping comps that I did last year, so I was quite successful in those ones, but I have struggled a little bit this year, I should say, and last week was it wasn't easy last week. I got 4 out of 8, so 50% there. So, as I said, this is from a fan's point of view, not an expert's point of view, but I just thought it might have been a little bit more extra content that I thought you guys might like each week. So, with Magic Round kicking off Friday, this will come out today on Friday, so tonight, at 6 p.m, the first game, I'll give my tips for the round, and I'll release them all for the round, so the game's up until Sunday. And normally what I'll do from now on is I will do them on a Tuesday, and probably release it on a Tuesday, so I guess, or a Wednesday, or a Tuesday night. I might release it on a Tuesday night, so you'll have content on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So 5 nights a week you'll have a rugby league content from myself, the Para Cave Podcast. So, look, just something, a little bit of fun here with this tipping. As I said, I'm not an expert, so don't put your house on it or anything, but you guys might have other thoughts as well, and if you do, just feel free to put them down in some comments in either the social media posts or by the way of a feedback from the Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to. Drop a comment there and give the podcast a rating as well. That'd be much appreciated. So anyway, just a new little idea. I thought a little bit more extra content each week, so have a little bit of fun, and you'll be able to track my tips, and let's see how we go. Right, now, Magic Round, Round 10, all the games to be played at Suncorp Stadium up in Brisbane, beginning Friday, 6 p.m, the Bulldogs up against the Raiders. Now, this should be a pretty good game to kick off Magic Round. The Raiders go into the game as favourites. The Bulldogs are outsiders. The Bulldogs coming off a win. The Raiders coming off a win in the last round. The Bulldogs beating St. George 18-16, and the Raiders defeating the Dolphins 31-30 in Golden Point. So the Raiders playing some pretty good football. I think it'll be a win to the Raiders. I think they'll continue that good form up against the Bulldogs. This could be a surprise packet game for the Bulldogs, so you never know, but I am going to tip the Canberra Raiders. In the next game on the Friday night, now this game should usually be a cracker of a game, although this time there is a few injuries to Manly, and there is also a little bit of doubt over Tom Trbojevic as well. So his brother Jake is out, so a huge loss for Manly there. As I said, Tom in doubt. Brisbane, they're high flying up the top of the ladder, coming first at the moment. They're favourites in this game. They get Ezra Mann back and the big one, Payne Haas, back into their squad after serving 1 week suspensions respectively. So they're back in the Brisbane team, so that's a huge boost to them. Obviously playing at Suncorp Stadium as well, Brisbane Broncos home ground. It's almost like a home game for the Broncos, even though it is a home game for the Sea Eagles in Magic Round. And I'm going to tip the Broncos in this one. I think they'll get the win, especially with Ezra Mann and Payne Haas back. So the Broncos to win that one. On to Saturday, 3 p.m, and it's the Warriors up against the Panthers. Now, the Warriors are in 8th position at the moment, the Panthers in 7th. The Panthers suffered that second loss in a row now to the Tigers last week, who got their first win. So the Panthers going down 12-8 to the Tigers out there in Bathurst. So the Panthers, they're not travelling as good as they would have thought this year, but obviously they've lost a couple of players throughout the year in the off-season and are now suffering a few injuries as well. So this will be an interesting game. The Warriors, they had a cracking win against the Sharks at Shark Park a few weeks ago. This one at Suncorp. Look, I'm going to go the Panthers in this game. I think they'll get back and win this game. They, as I said, 2 losses in a row. They'll want to get back into the winner's circle. So I think that the Panthers will get this game done and get the win. Although you never know about the Warriors. You don't know what sort of side is going to turn up, whether they're going to be an excitement machine or a disappointment. But I think there's just a little bit different about this Warriors side this year. So this will be a good game to kick off the Saturday of Magic Round. And as I said, I'll tip the Panthers in this one. The next game should be a cracker as well. I think Saturday is the peak of the games when it comes to Magic Round, that's for sure. And the second game is the Sharks versus the Dolphins. So obviously the Dolphins' first appearance at Magic Round, being their first year in the NRL. And the Sharkies, they are going to the game hot favourites in this game. So, and the form that Nico Hines has been in lately, it's hard to see why they wouldn't be favourites in this game. He is definitely pushing for an origin berth there. The Dolphins, they've started slow in their previous 2 games. They came back against the Titans and won that game. They came back against the Raiders again, took them to Golden Point, but went down by 1 point. They will get a lot of support, the Dolphins, at Suncorp Stadium, with it being one of their home grounds. But I think the way that the Sharkies are playing at the moment, they're playing some really good football. They're sitting up there in second position on the ladder there. So I think the Sharks will get the win in this game. But it'll be good to see this clash. This could be the second pick of the round, I think, the Sharks and the Dolphins game. So this will be a cracker to watch, this one. So as I said, Saturdays will be the games of the round, I think. But this next game, just to clarify that, I'll go the Sharks in that one. And to the next game, 7:45 p.m. on the Saturday, the Melbourne Storm versus the Rabbitohs. So 3rd versus 4th on the NRL ladder at the moment. Now, these are always great clashes between these two clubs. They're pretty fierce rivals. So this will be an interesting game. Two very strong sides. Latrell Mitchell coming back into some form. Campbell Graham again pushing for some origin berth. Played for Australia last year in the World Cup, so he is pushing for that New South Wales maybe centre position or a winger's position. So he heads the try scoring list equal with Michael Sevo, I think it is, at the moment in the NRL. So he is in a rich vein of form. So those two there will be stars. Obviously, Cody Walker as well will be involved there. Good little clash of the halves. Cameron Munster, Cody Walker, Jerome Hughes and Lachlan Ilias. That'll be a good clash there. Campbell Graham up against Justin Olam. That'll be a great clash there. The two hookers, Harry Grant and Damien Cook for South Sydney, that'll be a great little clash there. So this will be a great game, maybe the game of the round in Magic Round. So I'm going to tip the Rabbitohs in this game. I think they'll get the job done against the Storm, even though the Storm do have the hoodoo up against the Rabbitohs of late. I will tip the Rabbitohs. They beat the Broncos last week up at Suncorp Stadium, so this is their second week in a row there. So I'm going to go the Rabbitohs in that game to win it. This next game, Sunday, 1:50 p.m, again at Suncorp Stadium. Sunday the 7th of May sees the West Tigers up against the St George Illawarra Dragons. So 17th versus 15th. The West Tigers got their first win of the season last week against the defending premiers, the Penrith Panthers. So they'll be buoyed by that and up with confidence as well. The Dragons going down last week to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Both these ties have had pretty sort of under par seasons, you could say. Coach of the Dragons, Anthony Griffin, under a little bit of pressure at the moment. Zach Lomax has been dropped out of the St George side. So, look, they're under a little bit of pressure there. I actually think that the Tigers might get this game. As I said, just buoyed by that win last week and have a lot of confidence. I think they may go back-to-back. If Luke Brooks can back up that performance like he did against the Panthers, that'll be an interesting clash with Ben Hunt there, who probably had a disappointing game by his standards anyway. That'll be a good clash there. So if Luke Brooks can perform like he did last week against the Panthers in this game, then the Tigers will go a long way to winning it. So I'm going to go the Tigers in this one to go back-to-back in this competition. Sunday, 4 p.m, the second last game of the Magic Round sees the Roosters take on the Cowboys in this one. Now, the Roosters go into this game favourites. The Cowboys, 5th versus 16th, so the Cowboys are outsiders. They have been one of the disappointing teams this year so far, and they could say that themselves as well, considering how they went last year. They had a cracking year last year, made it all the way to the prelim final. This year they've struggled to get that form back. They've had injuries, they've had suspensions. Jeremiah Nanai is suspended for this game, so he's out. The Roosters, well, they had a 14-0 win against the Warriors last week over in New Zealand. So, and I do believe that they flew from New Zealand straight up to Queensland to train this week. So that little bit of a interesting ploy there to spend the week in Queensland from New Zealand. I think that the Roosters will just have too much firepower for the Cowboys, and I think they'll get the job done. They may get the job done pretty comfortably too. So I'm tipping the Roosters in this game. And the final game of a Magic Round sees the Titans play my Parramatta Eels at 6:25. So the last game of Magic Round, 10th versus 12th in this game. The Eels go into this game favourites. Big win against the Newcastle Knights last week at CommBank Stadium. The Titans themselves, they had a good win against Manly down there at Four Pines Park, or Brookvale Oval, whichever one you want to call it. So they had a good win there last week. AJ Brimson is a big one out for them, although they do have Jaden Campbell come back into that fullback role to replace AJ Brimson. So Jaden was playing off the bench, now he's into the starting lineup, so it's a pretty handy replacement there for the Gold Coast Titans. So they've been playing some reasonable football this year. They've had some ups, they've had some downs. Obviously, one of their main strike weapons is David Fafita on that edge. So he had one of his better games last week against Manly. Kieran Foran and Tanner Boyd have been working okay in the halves. I think that Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses is probably the better halves combination there. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Hopefully, as myself, a Parramatta fan, hopefully we can see that the Parramatta Eels come back again and get off to that good start like they did against Newcastle as well. So a few changes to their side from last week. Bailey Simonson comes back after serving that HIA 11-day period that he suffered against the Roosters. And we also have Andrew Davey, new signing from the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. He's signed with the Parramatta Eels, so he's second coming at the Eels, so he goes into the starting lineup, and Ryan Madison comes onto the bench as well. So Sean Russell drops out there. So Ryan Madison back onto the bench. So will that be the starting lineup that takes the field? There may be a change or two, but you just never know. So this will be a great game to finish off Magic Round. Now, just look, I am tipping Parramatta, and you may find that throughout these tipping each week that I may tip Parramatta a lot of times. I will try not to do it a lot. I will try and use my head when it comes to this, not my heart, but I will tip the Eels in this one to win at Magic Round. So recapping that, I will tip the Raiders, the Broncos, the Panthers, the Sharks, the Rabbitohs, the Tigers, the Roosters, and the Eels. So up to you guys, the listeners. If you're in any tipping comps, if you want to copy my tips, then look, feel free, but you might have some different thoughts yourself. So as I said, just a little bit of fun to do and bring you guys more content, but yeah, something fun to do, I think, and they're just my opinions. As I said, you might have different opinions. You might have some inside words from some clubs, who knows, but let me know how you think my tips are, and we'll see how we go by Sunday about 8 p.m. Now, if anyone is up in Brisbane for Magic Round, I will be up at Brisbane for Magic Round. I will see you on the Sunday there at Suncorp Stadium, or I will be at the Lord Alfred Hotel just after 11 a.m. on the Sunday. So come and say good day. Let's have a chat. If you enjoy the podcast, come and say good day. We'll have a chat about Parramatta or rugby league and how your weekend's going. So keep an eye out for me up there in Brisbane on Sunday. So there we go. We'll recap this round next week when I do the tipping for the round 11. So hope you like this. If you do, please leave a comment, leave a review and a comment and a 5-star rating, and or just message me on socials and we'll see how we go moving forward. So enjoy your magic round and I will chat to you guys later. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parracave Podcast. See you